I have worked here for 25 years.
22 good years.
It's kind of like having your mom cook lunch for you every day.
They make a bunch of things that you wouldn't even think about eating, but it tastes really good.
She makes me laugh every day, so that's great.
Some of them would definitely be on the streets. I know that for sure.
If I get in trouble, I'm probably not gonna be coming here no more.
There's good people left in the world. Yeah. There's a good help to us. We appreciate a lot.
Delivering 2 babies for her, getting a liver transplant for me.
I don't want to have go through labor by myself. It's kind of like a dream come true for me.
From 3 News Now and the Omaha World-Herald, this is Omaha Sunday Morning with Jennifer Griswold.
Good morning and thanks for joining us this Sunday. I'm Jennifer Griswold. He's been the talk of Husker country for months, from a small town in central Nebraska to big-time college football quarterback, now Husker head coach. Scott Frost made his big debut 2 weeks ago, and fans are happy with the improvements they're already seeing and eager to see what the season holds. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Megan McGill now with a look back at Scott Frost's road home to Nebraska.
What do you have to say about Knights Nation?
I don't love this place. I love UCF and I love Orlando. Thank you.
Congratulations, Coach.
It gives me a great deal of pleasure at this time to introduce the 30th head football coach at the University of Nebraska, Scott Frost.
Words can't describe how much it means to me to be back here in a place that I love, a place that I understand, a place that I want to represent. I think this state is ready to see this place return to what it was. And like I said, that doesn't mean we're going to win every football game, but I want this program to be something that the people of this state can get behind and be proud of.
Scott will say the right thing, he'll do the right thing. He knows about this place, he knows what made it great. And he'll bring a lot of his own ideas. This isn't going to just be a throwback to 1997, but a lot of the things that were in play those previous 40-some years long ago still maintained today.
It was a hard decision for me because some of the players I was coaching down there are special to me. We built something special at UCF. It was an unbelievable victory and then really difficult task to tell them goodbye. But when it came down to it, this is home, and I can't think anything more rewarding in my career than turning this place around.
I mean, it was at least 10 years ago I was telling people Scott Frost is going to be the head coach here someday because I knew that he was a special guy.
This is exactly, I think, what we needed. And I think this is what this school needed. Like, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. People are gonna be excited.
I want to run out of this tunnel again in front of a bunch of fans that are gonna cheer for us and applaud the other team and all the things that I love about Nebraska. And I'm looking forward to that.
Scott, how will you modify your system for the Big Ten?
I'm hoping the Big Ten has to modify their system for us.
So smooth. Husker fans are fired up and ready for what they've dubbed a new era of Husker football. But one superfan is ready to take you back through every era. From Devaney to Osborne, Frazier to Gill, a passion for collecting has turned into a fan experience every Husker fan would enjoy. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Brendan Sullivan takes us inside.
I started collecting in the early 80s when I was about 13 years old. The university used to have like garage sales where they'd take everything from the old equipment rooms and throw it out on picnic tables in the old Coliseum and just go digging. And I'd have my mommy take me and she bought my first jersey for me and you're just kind of hooked. And it's the only thing I ever wanted. In my early 20s, mid 20s, I really got into it again and really it's my passion, and it's not just a jersey or an award or whatever I get from guys. It's kind of the relationships I've begun to develop with these guys. It's fun for me to, like the guys that were heroes for me when I was a kid, you know, to get just to be friends with them. And
I used to get so nervous when I meet guys like Ricky, so nervous, but then you just realize they're just kind of normal guys.
When they come in town, they come in here, and I think they appreciate it more than anyone else. Vintage Red, just to have a place to show off their stuff. It's not just about the item, it's about the relationship you develop, you know, and the story behind the item. It's just stuff. I know it's just stuff, but when you have a great story of how you got it, or the player has a great story about the game and why he kept this jersey, I mean, that makes it a little more special to me. And when I give the tours in here, I share all those stories, and it makes it, you know, most people really enjoy it. Nebraska's unique because Nebraska football really bonds us all together.
Vintage Red Sports Galleries in the Haymarket District in Lincoln. Stop in on a game day and you might just run into some of your former Husker favorites. And it seems appropriate to wrap up this Husker coverage with a little series we like to call Fill in the Blank. This week, our sports reporter Phil Bergman catches up with former UCF safety Trey Neal to talk transfers, teeth, and 90s TV. Take a look.
You're a recent transfer to Nebraska. Had you ever been to Nebraska before you transferred?
No, I haven't. I don't think the farthest west that I have gone was probably Texas.
Stereotype of Nebraska that you thought of growing up?
Just country, open, wide.
A lot of cornfields?
A lot of cornfields. I kind of thought of Courage the Cowardly Dog was kind of the first thing I thought about.
So Trey, you want to be a dentist one day. How many times a day do you brush your teeth?
You know, I try to brush them after every meal, but most importantly, I try to floss after every meal.
Do you think your interception celebration is going to be maybe some flossing?
I don't know. I haven't really thought too much about it.
Player with the best smile on the team?
I think Markel Dismute has a pretty good, nice smile.
What about Scott Frost? That guy's a charmer.
Yeah, all the ladies, that's what they wanted me to say, but you know, he has a all right smile.
You're a senior. Do people call you grandpa on the team?
Yes, they do, surprisingly. That was something that some of the guys started when I first got here, just because I'm the oldest guy in the room. I'm a 90s guy, 96.
Favorite 90s TV show?
Friends.
Can you do the Friends clap for us? Hey, Trey, thank you so much for joining us, and this
is Fill in the Blank.
He got into it. Love it. Counting down the seasons, the cold, wintry months will be here before we know it. Are we in store for a warmer winter or colder than normal? A look inside the age-old Farmer's Almanac when Omaha Sunday Morning continues. We're still a few months away from the start of winter, but many people want to know what could be in store for us this year. Meteorologist Audra Moore spoke to the editor of the 2019 Farmer's Almanac to get their forecast for the season and learn how they put it together. A word of warning, this year it involves teeth-chattering cold and lots of snow.
Editor of the 2019 Farmer's Almanac, Peter Geiger, explains how they come up with the forecast.
We use a mathematical formula that was developed in the early 1800s, and we've been doing it now for 200 years, and only 7 people have been doing it over the 200 years.
The Farmer's Almanac covers more than just this upcoming winter.
The formula is applied to sunspot activity, planet positions, the effect that the moon has on the Earth, and that has allowed us to do our weather 2 years in advance.
As for the actual forecast for our area, well, according to the Farmer's Almanac, it's time to get a good winter coat.
This particular winter looks frigid, not just for you, but I think all the way down to Louisiana. It's just the central part of the country is just going to get the cold blast, and it's going to be there for quite a while.
3 News Now meteorologist Ryan McPike remembers waiting anxiously to see the Farmer's Almanac each year when he was a kid.
As a weather geek, I used to go to the grocery store a lot with my parents, and every time one of these guys would come out, I would just go nuts looking for it.
People still enjoy the information found in the almanac, but McPike knows it's not an end-all, be-all forecast.
Now that I'm a full-fledged meteorologist with a degree and a college education, like I said, it's still fun to look at this, but believe me, there's a lot more science, at least for this guy, that goes into those long-range forecasts.
We'll have to wait and see. On the flip side, the Climate Prediction Center outlooks still show us in warmer than average temperatures as we head into the winter months. Today is the last weekend day of summer. That's because next Saturday, fall officially begins. After a couple of unseasonably warm days, highs will cool down Tuesday, but begin warming right back up again the rest of the week. Besides being warmer than normal, we've also been experiencing an extended dry spell, but the chance for rain returns Tuesday with on and off chances the rest of the week. Race day at the track comes with excitement, friendly wagers, even a surprise upset or two. But for the men who used to be down on the track, it comes with a lifetime of memories too. The jockeys of races past can still vividly remember their wins and losses. We go down memory lane when Omaha Sunday Morning continues. Horse racing is a sport entrenched in Omaha history. From the first race at Exarban Racetrack in 1919 to present-day action at Horseman's Park, woven in that heritage are the thousands of jockeys that made the sport possible. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Brendan Sullivan has their stories.
And second choice on the board, the outside 20, number 7, City Romance is 5-2, completes the line. For the gate, they're racing in the third at Horseman's Park. Stepping right to the front, that's Wild and Innocent. Also a flashing early speed, the Great City Romance, and away third comes
I admire anybody that crawls on the back of a horse, something I've never done in my life. I've been around horses seemingly forever. I've described them as kamikaze pilots at times. The more aggressive riders are the better riders, not only on the grasslands level here in Nebraska, but even in the big leagues.
You can't imagine the feeling that you get when you win, when you come to when you know you're going to win and you're coming to the finish line, and that is the biggest thing that I have missed in the racing is the rush that you get in winning a race.
It just gets in your blood. I mean, once you're in the business, the horse business, it's you really fall in love with the sport itself and the people that are involved in it.
I broke a lot of bones and had spills and injuries because you don't ride for 25 plus years without having spills and injuries. But when you go out, you don't ever think about it. When you're riding, when you're out there and riding, it's not in your head at all. You don't even think about it. If you did, you wouldn't be able to do it probably and be successful at it.
My horse broke his right front leg, and kind of, when he fell, when he went down to the right, and he kind of just sucked me underneath him, and just about every part of him, rolled on top of me. And I broke my back at the T12 level, and there was a spinal cord injury. As soon as you get on their back, in the paddock, and you go out, and they, blow the bugle, your adrenaline starts going. So, and I think that's good to have that. You don't want to get too much, but as long as you're, a little bit, at least I was a little bit nervous every time I got up on it. But once the gate opened, it's kind of out of your mind, and you just ride the race. It's a very dangerous sport. I mean, and jockeys know that. I knew that, and everyone knows that every time you get on the back of a horse. It was a promising career, though. My trajectory was going up, when I was the trainers I was riding for on the East Coast. So it was a promising career, but it got cut short.
The next event at Horseman's Park is the Breeders' Cup on November 2nd. A boxing club focused on keeping kids out of trouble found themselves needing assistance. When Omaha Sunday Morning continues, we show you how an anonymous donation helped get the club doors back open to continue the mission of helping kids. A boxing club focused on helping young people recently needed a little help of its own. Jackson Boxing Club had an agreement with the building owner at 26th and Leavenworth to use the building until a business wanted to lease it out. They got notice that day had come in April, leaving boxers and coaches hustling to find a new place. 3 News Now reporter Maya Sign shows us the club's new home.
Many of the kids in this ring at Jackson Boxing Club call this their second home.
Coaches are like second dads. Yeah, everyone's family here.
It's where they come after school to train.
We got a lot of good kids, a lot of good fighters. We've got 4 or 5 kids ranked in the country right now.
Because if they weren't in the ring,
who knows? Some of them would definitely be on the streets. Some of them would definitely be on the streets. I know that for sure. We get kids sent here all the time from probation or stuff like that.
It's just a place to come to let off steam and to place off the streets. You know, it's like a second home.
Here, they can stay out of trouble.
If I get in trouble, I'm probably not gonna be coming here no more.
So in March, when the owner of the building at 26th and Leavenworth, where their old gym was, told the club they had 1 month to move, they hustled to find a new place.
We had an anonymous donor rent us this space. It's like 3,000 square feet.
Within weeks, the club moved in.
I don't know if it's because we're free and it's good karma from God or what the deal is, but we luck out right at the last second all the time.
And blesses them with even more.
We had another ring donated to us. We've had a bunch of equipment donated to us. We got a great location, a huge gym, and everything's paid for. So, I mean, we're still able to train these kids for free. I mean, every time I think we're in trouble, God proves me wrong once again and gives us more stuff.
There's good people left in the world. Yeah. There's a good help to us. We appreciate it a lot.
The even greater thing about this move is that the anonymous donor who rented them the new space so they could move in quickly paid for 3 years worth of rent. So they'll have this home for at least the next 3 years. Gone are the desks and the school books, but that doesn't mean learning has stopped at an old schoolhouse in small-town Nebraska. How the school, now a home, keeps teaching a younger generation when Omaha Sunday Morning continues. It was once filled to the brim with students eager to learn. Now desks are gone, the bell no longer rings. The old schoolhouse has a new life as a home. But that doesn't mean the learning has stopped. Omaha World-Herald visual journalist Sarah Hoffman takes us inside the unique home that's inspiring others.
Have you heard about the scientific theory, the string theory? We supposedly knew what made up the universe, but now folks are saying that there's something about a string that just makes the universe come together. When we were shopping for a place, David would bring his harmonica. He would play the harmonica in each space in the buildings that we were considering buying. And so when we got here, it was a sure thing that acoustically this was definitely the place we wanted to be. You can hear yourself play. We bought it in 1990. And since then, we've been doing concerts and workshops and camps and a lot of private lessons. One of the unique things about the fiddle, particularly as opposed to a guitar or a mandolin, is that on the fingerboard where you put your fingers to change the pitches, there are no guidelines as to where your fingers should be. You just have to put it in the right place at the right time every time.
That schoolhouse is located in Avoca, Nebraska. It holds performances that you can check out throughout the year. There's a lot going on this week in Omaha. Here's a look at 3 things you need to know about. It's a sure sign that fall is almost here. Vala's Pumpkin Patch is open for the season. The popular hotspot this time of the year draws the crowds. Each year they have the hay rack rides, pumpkin chucking, and feature a pie barn. Vala's is open through Halloween. Chalk is officially taking over Midtown Crossing this weekend. There's a little bit of everything, some abstract portraits, even 3D. About 20 local artists are out from 10 to 6 today. You might remember organizers wanted to hold the event earlier this summer, but the rain forecast didn't mix too well with all that chalk. And tomorrow, nearly 20 people will take the oath to become U.S. citizens at a naturalization ceremony in Papillion. It's happening at the historic Papillion Schoolhouse. The soon-to-be citizens come from 11 nations and will take their oath of citizenship on that day. It is not the birth story they would have planned, but somehow it all worked out. A man from Topeka, Kansas came to Nebraska Medicine for a liver transplant. He and his wife left with 2 babies. We'll introduce you to the family of 4 who all called the hospital home for a few days for different reasons. Liver rejection can be frightening in itself, but 33-year-old Brady Sorensen had experience with health complications. Still, this time was much different. When he learned he'd need a transplant, his wife was pregnant with twins, and the timing of what happened next was a bit chaotic. We sit down with a family of 4 from Topeka, Kansas, who all called Nebraska Medicine home for a few days for different reasons.
Looking back, it was smooth and perfect. In the moment, it was absolutely just a chaotic mess.
Babies Emery and Riley.
They're kind of sassy. I've noticed that.
Were already at the hospital when they decided to make their grand entrance into the world. But that makes it sound a little more orderly than it was.
We both had something that was unavoidable. Delivering 2 babies for her, getting a liver transplant for me.
Brady Sorensen had his first liver transplant at the age of 8 months, another in his 20s. He learned this summer he'd need a 3rd.
I was just not sure how that was all going to play out, and I was like, I don't want to have go through labor by myself.
He received his transplant on July 10th at Nebraska Medicine. Being 160 miles from home, Jess found an OB here too. Good thing, because at 8 days post-op for Brady, Jess was 33 weeks pregnant.
Jess stood up maybe to come over and give me a hug or something, I don't know. And then her water broke. And so I pushed my call light. Several nurses from the transplant floor came in.
And the nurses were making me laugh because they just were like, unsure of what they should do with me.
Once Jess's water broke, Brady got the all clear from doctors to be by his wife's side. So he got in a wheelchair and went downstairs to labor and delivery.
I've wanted to be a mom for a very long time. And so now that they're here, it's just really like, it's kind of like a dream come true for me.
The premature baby girls, born via C-section, had no real issues, but stayed at the hospital for about a month to make sure they were growing well. Not the plan they would have scripted, but somehow this birth story still seems perfect.
And it's all behind us, and we get to go home soon and like figure out what our new normal is going to look like. Hi, are you opening your eyes?
And they have since gone home to Topeka, and everyone is doing well. Brady is able to build that beautiful family thanks to organ donation. And while his transplant story is unique, his journey to that day is one thousands of people are currently experiencing. Nebraska Organ Recovery says there are 114,000 people in the U.S. waiting for a life-saving transplant. 3 News Now reporter Alexa Ray shows us how much that gift means to those on the list.
You couldn't prepare for it at 14 at all.
At just 14 years old, Stephanie Lewis was diagnosed with systemic lupus, an autoimmune disease. And at 17, she was told she would need a new kidney. She says while she did everything she could to slow the deterioration of her kidney,
within the last, I would say 5 years, things started progressively getting worse.
That's when she decided to start dialysis and the process of getting put on the transplant list. Lewis became one of the 114,000 people in the U.S. who are waiting for a transplant. Kara Cordell, the PR and marketing manager for Nebraska Organ Recovery, says that about 56% of the eligible people in the state of Nebraska are registered to be an organ donor, and each of them can save more than 1 life.
One donor through organs could save up to 8 people's lives, and then with tissue donation, they could save or enhance or improve the quality of life for over 100 different people.
On February 4th, 2016, Lewis received news there was a potential kidney match after only being on the transplant list a year and a half.
When they called me, I really was more in disbelief. You know the call will come eventually, but you don't know when the call comes.
Lewis got the kidney of Sarah Root, the 21-year-old killed by a drunk driver. She says now the Roots have become her second family.
Without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. So every day, am thankful and grateful to the family that I've received a kidney from.
And because of Sarah's donation, Lewis says her memory will never be forgotten.
That person essentially still lives on through someone else.
Anybody over the age of 16 can register to be a donor. All the information about donation and how to become a donor can be found online at nedonation.org. If you ask any high school student what their favorite part of the school day is, it's likely lunchtime will fall somewhere close to the top of their list. And one local high school, 2 ladies are working to make lunchtime the best time of the day. 3 News Now morning anchor Emily Zink takes us to Duchesne Academy, where a little extra love goes into every meal.
Today is eggplant parmesan, salad, garlic bread.
Preparing lunch for hungry high schoolers.
We still have a few minutes, Jackie.
Is no easy task.
It is panicked. Look out.
It's panicked.
Yeah,
It's
they're
like
lined
there's
up all the way down.
But Nancy Davis.
I have worked here for 25 years.
And Noreen Franking.
It's been 22 good years.
Have the lunchtime routine down at Duchesne Academy.
Delish.
Friends for 40 years.
She makes me laugh every day, so that's great.
Both women had daughters and granddaughters attend Duchesne.
You're welcome.
They even went here for college. The academy used to not have a hot lunch program, so Davis started one back in the 90s.
Here you go, sweetie.
Davis sold her lunch business to Duchesne this year, but the ladies couldn't stay away.
I'd rather be doing this than what else?
Just do nothing.
The girls are grateful to have the pair back in the kitchen.
They make a bunch of things that you wouldn't even think about eating, but it tastes really good.
I think it's my favorite so far. It's kind of like having your mom cook lunch for you every day.
Thank you. Sure, you bet.
And that's what they aim for.
It's just been a kitchen, a mom's kitchen.
Smile, smile, smile.
This isn't work.
It's fun.
It's pleasure.
To hear laughter during your day.
Oh, and you do hear that.
Awesome. Thank you.
And lunch at Duchesne is something Davis and Franking plan on continuing for a long time.
This is creative.
Yeah. This just keeps us young, I hope.
That's a good storyline.
That's a good storyline.
Looks delicious. This weekend is reunion weekend at Duchesne, and Davis was honored for her service in the lunchroom at the school. Elementary students at an Omaha public school are hoping to spread kindness throughout their classrooms. Look at this photo posted by Walnut Hill Elementary School. You can see students spelled out the words, "Be kind." It's a campaign started by Ralston Superintendent Mark Adler after his son took his own life. Now the campaign is spreading to schools across the area to end bullying and show kindness to one another. Elkhorn's third high school now has a nickname. They will be the Wolves. The school board met this week and went over suggestions from the public, settling on the Elkhorn North Wolves. The district will break ground on the new high school at 180th and Maple later this year. It will open in August of 2020. An annual report confirms what students in the metro already know. Omaha is home to a top university. The U.S. News and World Report released their 2018 list of America's best colleges, and for the 16th year in a row, Creighton is #1 for Midwest regional universities. The ranking criteria included things like academic reputation, graduation rates, and alumni giving. Creighton also ranked #2 for most innovative schools in the Midwest. We see it all the time, people distracted when they should be driving, and the consequences are far too great. Coming up on Omaha Sunday Morning, our new initiative, Safe Roads Now, as we dig deeper to make a difference in our community. We see it every day, distracted drivers making our roads dangerous. So what can be done to curb and combat the problem? Here at 3 News Now, we care about this community and we want to do more to make the area a better, safer place. From now on, you'll see reports titled Safe Roads Now. These reports will not be quick blurbs where we spout traffic stats at you. We aim to go deeper and make a difference. After all, we live here too, and so do those we love.
In that moment, life just changes.
A driver runs a red light.
I just kept hoping and praying, God, revive her, let it not be true.
A 12-year-old girl never sees high school. Behind each fact and figure, there is a face. We see road dangers every single day.
Current law does not require the use of seatbelts in the back seat.
I just assume it did.
Research shows more drivers wear seatbelts in states with primary enforcement, which Nebraska does not have.
You got the head?
228 people died on Nebraska roads last year.
Vomit in his mouth.
70% of people in cars who died were not buckled up.
Time of death, 9:04.
Think of their families.
It is the worst day of their life.
You will meet the people who work for them not to be a statistic. The doctors who give the gut-wrenching news to loved ones.
This person has a life, and in an instant it was changed.
Many of us try to do too much.
Can't do that.
We are distracted when we should be driving.
If you're looking down, texting a message, you can easily drift across the center lane and go head-to-head with another vehicle.
So how can we change these life-altering, life-ending moments?
It just seems common sense to me for the legislature to do something about that.
At 3 News Now, we will explore the problem and possible solutions.
These companies have a shared responsibility with all of us to ensure that their employees are driving safely on the road.
The concerns, the questions, the roadblocks.
To me, it does give them another avenue to make some stops, and it raises constitutional questions.
We explore them all as we together strive for safe roads now.
In 2016, more than 4,000 crashes involved distracted drivers. That's a 30% increase over 5 years. Recently, the National Safety Council launched a new campaign to curb those numbers called Distracted Driving Affected Me. The initiative tells the stories of families whose lives have been forever changed by distracted driving. Families like Charlie Endorf's. 3 News Now reporter Shantae Passmore shares his story.
That was done for an Overdrive magazine.
69-year-old Charlie Endorf is one heck of a driver.
Well, all total, in all my years of driving, I've driven right at 48 years.
Mostly for Warner Enterprises. So well, he's done it accident-free for more than 5 million miles, receiving honors along the way like this.
So welcome to Petro York here in Nebraska, now named the Charlie Endorf York Stopping Center.
Yet, this story isn't about his accolades or safety record. He invited us to Fairbury.
August 29th does not go by without a memory.
To talk about a life-changing phone call in '91.
The Weld County coroner had called my wife and asked if she was the mother of Clifford Endorf.
Colorado officials called to say the then 23-year-old died in a single deadly wreck off I-76, hitting a guardrail. The impact, unforgiving. Investigators concluded no foul play, nothing in Cliff's system. But perhaps he may have fallen asleep at the wheel.
Or he dropped something and we just don't know.
In the last 27 years, Charlie and his wife, Kay, do know this.
See, this is a Cliff's album that we couldn't find.
Finding themselves where they don't want to be.
But, he was awfully good in art.
And is awfully missed every day.
There's Cliff.
Their message to anyone who will listen.
Get your minds on your driving.
His mission, to prevent another family from experiencing his family's pain. It's why you'll hear his story in this PSA through the National Safety Council, Nebraska.
You just don't run into a bridge rail. So whatever he was doing, distracted driving took his life.
And altered his family's life, just as it could for any of us. Because as Charlie says, if any of us are honest with ourselves.
I think we all find room for improvement.
Maybe it wasn't his car.
This is prom night, right?
Yeah.
Senior prom.
As mentioned, Endorf spent decades driving for Warner Enterprises, hitting a pretty remarkable milestone. In his more than 40 years on the road, he wasn't involved in a single accident. On Friday, he was honored along with several other drivers, all of whom have driven at least 1 million miles crash-free. Endorf has them all beat, though, hitting his 5 millionth mile in 2013. Warner Enterprises President and CEO Derek Leathers says the 5 drivers had a total of 11 million accident-free miles. Endorf told us he's grateful for the honor.
It's one day at a time, and if you just take each and every day, safely, why it just adds up, and the older you get, the more you're going to accomplish.
Endorf says he hopes his years of safe driving with Werner inspire younger drivers to do the same. At 3 News Now, we are also committed to preventing distracted driving and other issues that impact Omaha area drivers, but we also want to hear from you. Help us find more angles to examine to keep our roads safer at saferoads@3newsnow.com. The Bellevue Fire Department is pushing for new vehicles and equipment, and while the city has approved a couple, those in the department say more are needed. Coming up on Omaha Sunday Morning, we show you the aging fleet and the discussion on how to update expensive resources. For years, Bellevue has struggled with funding the city's fire department, which has a fleet of aging vehicles and equipment and no dedicated source of revenue to replace them. Last month, the council moved funds around to buy 2 vehicles, but many at the department still need to be replaced. 3 News Now reporter John Kipper shows us what firefighters are working with and options for fixing it.
Well, the city recently purchased a brand new fire truck. The majority of the vehicles in this station behind me are well over 10 years old. And that aging equipment causes plenty of headaches for the fire department.
That one's sitting there is 21 years old, and that's the one that supplies our air for our working fires.
Captain Don Gifford has been around the Bellevue Fire Department since 1983 and says older equipment carries potential consequences.
Breakdowns at a fire scene, extended stays in the maintenance shop. Older equipment, it's harder to get parts for it. The body parts, they're a specialty item. Sometimes you're waiting a month for parts.
Bellevue Fire and Rescue went from volunteer to a paid department in 2009. That's when the city planned on putting a restaurant tax on the ballot. That would help fund police, infrastructure, and the fire department.
That didn't happen.
Now the department has emergency vehicles such as engine pumpers, utility trucks, and ambulances from the 1990s. Plans for a special election last year and to put the issue on the ballot in 2018 fell apart, leaving the fire department with no clear plan forward. State Senator and former City Council member Carol Blood says the city dropped the ball.
You can't get blood from a turnip. Bellevue doesn't generate enough revenue to just magically find this money. We don't have a restaurant tax like Omaha does, so we don't have this big slush fund.
In a packed City Council meeting last month, the council gave the department over $700,000 to purchase a fire truck, an ambulance, and to ensure full staffing. But that was only a stopgap, with no clear long-term solution. The state stepped in last decade to force the department to pay their firefighters. Senator Blood worries it could happen again.
Sometimes the legislature does have to step in and change statute that forces people's hands. And I'm not saying that that's in the works right now, but I do fear that.
As that equipment continues to age, insurance rates go up, which then rolls over to the taxpayer. When you put your name on an editorial cartoon that appears in the paper every week, you're bound to strike a nerve with a person or two along the way. Coming up, Jeff Katurba talks about hate mail he has received. And finally this week, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, right? But sometimes one can get a little carried away. The work of Omaha World-Herald editorial cartoonist Jeff Katurba sometimes draws in a little hate mail. He gives us his take on it.
I'm Jeff Katurba. I am the editorial cartoonist for the Omaha World-Herald. I get fan mail, wonderful emails, and lots of compliments on social media. Who doesn't love hearing nice things about one's work? I even get quirky fan mail like this from Rudy Watson. He's clipped out this cartoon I drew about Mark Zuckerberg regarding recent troubles at Facebook. Not only did Rudy write a nice letter, he made a few changes to my cartoon. I like mine scrambled. Not exactly sure what it means, but it made me laugh. But admit it, fan mail just isn't very interesting, is it? What you really want to hear about are all the awful things people say about me. Like this anonymous letter from Bakersfield, California. The person is upset with this cartoon about the poisoning of a Russian ex-spy and his daughter. Are you stupid, he writes. You believe Putin, Russia, did it? It's not just me who thinks so. Most of the Western world believes it. The kicker is where he writes, you are also so stupid, you think Oswald did it. It's not just my cartoon some people have taken issue with. I've heard lots of nice things about a column I wrote about how I fell in love with journalism. In the column, I even got personal and wrote about how I was inspired by my dad and my uncle. And yet, this person says, "Give us a break. Nobody cares except you, your friends, and your mama. No one cares." He ends with the word "better left blurred out." Did I mention the letter was also anonymous? Look, I sign my cartoons and I'm always glad to engage with readers. In fact, just when it seems the world is all divided and angry, I firmly believe most of us can have a civil discussion about most any topic, no matter where we stand. So if you have a comment about one of my cartoons, even if you disagree, please reach out. But also, keep it clean.
Thanks for watching Omaha Sunday Morning. We hope to see you again next week.